Good day, good people. It's your girl Sid from Savvy Sentient, and welcome to today's video. Today's video was not one that I planned, but one that I was divinely guided to do. This is a love letter from Spirit addressed to the Divine Feminine. This message is for all women, cis and trans. This message is for men who fully embrace and comfortably live in your divine feminine energy. This message is for anyone who has ever had to live a single day as a femme in body or in energy. This message is for you. So last night I was pulling cards. I decided to do a reading for myself from my African Goddess Rising Oracle. And typically when I do a reading from this deck, I pull one card and I ask that the goddess who would like to speak to me delivers a message. However, before I began to do the reading, I received a download and I was shown myself pulling 3 cards, doing a complete reading. And so that is what I decided to do. Before I get into what that reading entailed, I want to speak to you all a little bit about what's happening cosmically and how the energy of the collective, especially the divine feminine, is being affected. But I will say that as I pulled these cards, as I read the messages, I realized that this is not a message that is meant for me alone. And this is why I was pulled to do a full reading, because this is for y'all. Okay. So before we get into the reading, let's just recap what's happening. As you all know, Mercury is in retrograde. What this means is that communication is going to be a little choppy. Technology is going to be malfunctioning. The communication that you have with yourself and others is going to be affected, as well as your brain fog. There's going to be a lack of clarity for you mentally, okay? Mercury retrograde also brings back the past. And this is in the form of old lovers, old friends, and even excommunicated family members, okay? Pluto is also in retrograde, bringing up old wounds from the past, i.e. trauma and suppressed emotions. We have a full moon eclipse in Scorpio coming up. And this is bringing to the surface again the things that need to be dealt with. So already there's a theme here. You cannot run from your past. To be the cherry on top of this tragic Sunday, we have a supermoon during that eclipse, which means that everything that you suppress, all the emotions that you hide, everything that you have that is undealt with is not only going to come to the surface, but is going to be magnified. A lot of you have already begun to feel the effects of this energy, myself included. Okay, so let's get into this reading. Let me just tell y'all what each card means and the messages that I got once the reading was complete. So the first card we have is Mame Kumba Bang, and this card asks for you to speak up, okay? And I'm just going to read the excerpt here. Mame Kumba Bang is from the Temple of the Griots, okay? So the Temple of the Griots. The Temple of the Griots is the storytellers and the historians entrusted with cultural continuity. The Temple of the Griots physically aligns with your voice, your throat, and your ears, okay? With your throat chakra. So, her message, sorry, y'all, I'm fumbling with the book. But her message goes as follows. Mame Kumba Bang protects the mouth of the Senegal River. When making an offering to her, you must not speak to anyone else, coming or going. Sing for her, chant for her, call to her. Give Goddess Kumba your voice and she'll be happy. Her guidance says, speak up, speak out, speak on it. You have a right to be heard. Her embodiment says you are betraying yourself by not speaking up. Your words have power. Own your voice. As the old saying goes, stand up for something or fall for anything. Being neutral is not an option. When you stand firmly in your truth, you have thoughts, opinions, beliefs, and convictions. What do you stand for? Tell somebody today. The Goddess Declaration, I reclaim my voice, I speak out, and I speak up. That card alone is a powerful one. But of course, there's more. The next card that comes up is Allah. She is from the Temple of the Lovers. And the Temple of the Lovers are love deities, okay? She's Igbo or from Nigeria. And her guidance says, as the goddess of grief, Ancient Earth Mother allies the foremost Igbo Alusi, which is deity. Goddess Allah oversees motherhood, fertility, and the afterlife. After death, humans return to the womb of Allah, replanted in the soul to reincarnate. Her guidance says, give spirit your grief. Bawl it out, wail it out, cry it out, sob, shriek, shed tears, surrender it. Embodiment. You are holding unprocessed grief. You want to skip over it and get back to normal, but grief doesn't go away because you ignore it. The only way to healing is to walk through it. Losing a loved one is the ultimate heartbreak, but you also experience grief after breakups, job loss, and disappointments. Self-love and self-care are required. Ask for support. Be gentle with yourself. The Goddess Declaration. I am supported by my loved ones, those who are seen and those who are unseen. Okay? I think y'all might see where we're going here. And the final message, Sache, otherwise known as Sarah Bartman, made to perform as the Hottentot Venus. She is from the Temple of the Ancestors, and her message is grounding. You may know the great ancestress Sache as Sartji or Sarah Bartman, the woman forced to perform as the Hottentot Venus in the 19th century London. But before she was that, she was Sache, a Konko woman in South Africa who deserved better. Sache's guidance. Protect your magic. Your heart is your own. Your body is your own. Your mind is yours. Your truth and story are your own. Be rooted in your truth. Create healthy boundaries. Embodiment. Your energy is unsteady. Breathe. Come into the present. Say out loud, I am here. Trauma, stress, overwhelm, anxiety, and fear disconnect you from your body. Grounding keeps you present. When you feel rootless or unsettled, come back to your breath. Meditation and breath work are grounding. Try earthing, connecting your feet to soil, free writing, clapping, stomping, rubbing your hands together are all grounding. Her goddess declaration says, I am firmly planted and deeply rooted. And again, she is an ancestor. So I feel that is being grounded in your ancestry, having that support of your ancestors, as well as the physical grounding with the earth. Now, I'm going to give you all the messages I've received as I finish the reading, okay? And it says, now is the time for releasing our grief. It's time to speak on our traumas. We've been suppressing the many times we've been violated. It's time for us to reclaim our own bodies, our minds. It's time to stop being the victim to the betrayals we faced and tell our stories. Stand up against the entitlement men have felt towards our bodies, our energy, and our labor. Okay, so that's the message. And I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to tell y'all story, and I'm not telling you mine. So let me lead the way. And I hope that you all feel encouraged enough to tell your story too. Whether you hop down in those comments and speak on something, whether you tell a close friend, a family member, whether you just say out loud what happened to you. But it's time to stop holding it in and stop being a victim to your hidden trauma, to your hidden shame. Okay? So I have 2 stories. I'm going to keep it brief and try to bring it back around full circle for you. So the first story is a story where essentially when I was 15 years old, I met a young man. I met him in a supermarket. I was very taken by him. And we caught eyes, and he found himself very taken with me. We began to talk and develop a relationship, and I kept nothing hidden. I let him know immediately that I was only 15 years old. He let me know that he was 20. I was okay with it. Apparently he was too. We then decided to lie to my parents and say that he was 18. Of course, that lie didn't last too long because I have older cousins who went to school with him. So there's that. What I will say is during the time that we dated, courted, whatever you would like to call it, he never pressured me to do anything I didn't want to do. And he never took it to the point of, full on intercourse. I hope I could say that. However, we did everything but, okay? Almost everything but. And at that time, I had, been a virgin, so there was only so much I was willing to do. But yeah, he went along with it. Now, the second story I'm going to tell you is about another gentleman who was a friend of my cousins, a friend of the family, okay? And I was living in my cousin's house. We all went out that night. We went to a bowling alley party for someone, and some of us were drunk, some of us were not. I'm sure that I was not. After the party was over, we returned to the house, at which point the others decided that they wanted to go somewhere else, like the party had to continue elsewhere. I decided not to go. I went downstairs and took a shower. And on my way out of the shower and back up to my room, I noticed that one of those people decided to stay back as well. This gentleman um, decided, once I made my way up the stairs, that he would also make his way up the stairs and into my room. And he forcibly, I didn't consent to this. I didn't ask for it. I've never suggested that I was interested in this, but forcibly, um, let's say, I don't know, use his mouth to get what he wanted, quite literally, okay? And while this wasn't penetrative or super invasive, as other SAs may be, again, this is not something I consented to. In both of these situations, I was in a position where consent was not available. As a 15-year-old, I cannot give consent to a grown man. And in the second story, I never just gave consent in any way, shape, or form. And for a long time, up until recently, I didn't see the problem with either. There have been times where the first scenario would come up and I would, kind of like brush it away, like, nah, like we were friends, we were good, whatever the case is. But especially with the present energy, I am being forced to face and address that in both of those situations, I was indeed victimized. I was telling the second story to my significant other, and in both of the stories, I would say, like, they were both nice guys, everybody liked them, whatever, they're nice people, like, it's nothing. And she asked me, he forced himself on you, but he's a nice guy. You didn't ask for what you received, but he's a nice guy. And that really left me stuck because I knew I'm an intelligent individual and I knew that she was right. And as an outsider looking in, if I was me telling me that story, my response would be the same. My line of questioning would be the same. My perception would be the same. Because at the end of the day, whether or not an attack is violent or whether it is gentle, if it is unwanted, it is still an attack. And I feel like a lot of women, a lot of humans who embody feminine energy experience these gentle attacks and write them off in the way that I did because they weren't violent. And it's only now, years later, that I realize what happened. Now, can this possibly be traced back to the several times, not the one, not the two, the 3 times before I was 11 years old, where I was handled in such a way and where nothing was done? Absolutely. The way that I even ended up as a Philadelphia resident was the result of SA, was a result of attack. And even then, there were questions surrounding the circumstances. Did she get raped, or was it just a little fondling? When that line of questioning is irrelevant. Several people failed to protect me. Several adults failed to protect me and trained me to understand that even if it's just a little touching, a little petting, even if it's just a delicate and gentle attack, it's not that big of a deal, so there's no need to say anything about it. It taught me that nothing will be done if you speak on it, so I speak on it. So those are my stories. Again, if you feel so compelled, you can tell me in the comments your story. If you would like to email me just to get it off of your chest, savvysentient@gmail.com. If you, like I said, journal it, write it, talk to somebody, just say it out loud to yourself, but get it out. Now is the time. This energy that we are dealing with cosmically wants you to tell your story. The divine mothers, the goddesses, the Orisha, the Loa, whatever deity you hold dear to you in feminine form, want you to tell your story. This is how you take your power back. This is how you gain your freedom. I've included my gay boys and my trans girls and my gender non-conforming people who hold feminine energy in this message because I have seen them violated verbally, and I know that it's happened physically because of the energy that they carry. So they are not exempt from having a story to tell. Trans girls, for years now, have been unalived at such an alarming rate. And it's not because they are not disclosing. That is a hetero narrative. In fact, most trans people I know are pretty open about their trans experience. I think I've only ever met one who wasn't, and that's his prerogative. But these women are being unalived at such an alarming rate, not because they don't disclose, but because these men are ashamed that they've actively and successfully pursued these women, vetted these women, and now they feel like they're gay. So you pursued this feminine energy. You loved everything about her. And I mean everything, because trust, they be loving everything about her. And now she can't see tomorrow because of your ego and because you were so entitled to her body and her presence and her energy and her fucking light. I've seen posts on social media posted by both cis women and men with captions saying, "What do y'all think of this?" And it's a trans girl. As if our fucking opinions matter. Our opinions don't matter to her journey. It shouldn't even be something that is up for debate, but just that in itself is problematic and causes danger for her. The lack of empathy that we have for those who share our journey, cis women, some of y'all, you don't have empathy for her because you don't see her as a real woman. But she has a very similar story to you, a very similar journey to you. She had that funny uncle too. She had that father who essayed her for most of her life because of that feminine energy that both you and her hold. Embodying feminine energy up until now has meant being second-class citizens to cis men. It has meant having our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and even our financial boundaries breached. And even now, our humanity is being breached with the possible overturning of Roe versus Wade. It's time for us to unite and support each other. It's time for us to tell our stories, just like I have today. It's time for us to refuse to be silenced. Divine feminine, sister, mother, cousin, brother, and mother. Whichever form you take, it is time to rise up. I love you all. And if you've made it to this point in the video, get in those comments and tell me that you love me back. I hope that this message permeated your spirit on the deepest level. I hope this message has awakened something within you. I hope this message has made you feel seen. And I hope this message invites you to create a community with me and with other divinely feminine energies to support one another. Okay? So that is my message. That is Spirit's message. And of course, until the next time I read for y'all, or the next time I meet with y'all, I'm so used to saying that. Till the next time we meet, y'all, I wish you all love and light and everything right. And I will see you on the next one. Good night.